Welcome to WYCD Wicked, that stands for What You Can Do. It's your old pal Jake, and this is a chill stream. I'm just going to do some recording of segments and get some thoughts off my hairy chest. I was thinking that you all could use some reframing here. After the debate, Joe Biden has been questioned constantly about whether or not he should stay in the race. I think it would be interesting and possibly even healthy if he dropped out. Not necessary, though. I also am not sure of those things. It's entirely possible that strategically the best chance we have of beating Trump is for Biden to stay in the race. Maybe. Regardless, though, I am not concerned. And I want to talk to you guys about why. So if you'll humor me, I'm going to recap that again and record it. The question on America's mind is, should Biden drop out of the race? For context, if you've been in a hole of late, Joe Biden gave the worst debate performance that I think anyone has seen ever. Literally ever. That's how bad of a performance he gave in truly the most important presidential election ever held before, except maybe I don't know, Lincoln's. Now listen, let's pause, talk about that for a second. We seem to hear that every election now. Well, it's been true. They've been getting more and more important. Just like we've been breaking heat records. Doesn't mean the old one wasn't actually a record. It means we broke that record. Well, similarly, we've broken the record, I guess, for how important a debate is. In 2016, it was a question of who would be sitting on our Supreme Court. That was unfortunately answered by Donald Trump. Couple of times. Actually, he ended up getting more appointments than he should have because in 2016, it was known that Barack Obama's appointment had been stolen by the Republicans. So it was incredibly important. Arguably the most important up until that point. It certainly of our lifetimes. Then it was whether or not we will have a psychopath in office. And it was the most important election of our time. Then we found out that guy is a traitor to the country. I mean, it was suspected before. His connections with Russia were well known. But it was important. And it got more important. Because the guy did a coup. And now Project 2025 is in place. The Supreme Court has already given the president immunity from crime, immunity from punishment for crime. If Donald Trump gets into office, we are thoroughly. You all know this. So, why am I not freaking out? Joe Biden gave the worst debate performance I have ever seen. I think anybody has ever seen. I think that has ever been given in regards to a presidential debate. People are talking. Should we replace him? I have good news for you, regardless. First of all, let's be real about the situation. Biden says he doesn't want to be replaced. He doesn't want to drop out. He doesn't plan to. That's basically the end of it. We could put our efforts into trying to force him off the ticket. I just don't think that's a wise use of our time. The person who will replace him is almost certainly Kamala Harris. And guess what? If he's too sick to do the job, that's who's going to be the president anyway. If he's too sick, if he has another cold to campaign, she can step up and campaign in his stead. But here's what I want you to consider. Whether Biden is replaced or Biden is not replaced, don't turn to the person who's saying it's so important we get rid of Trump, we must replace him or we must not replace Biden, and yell at them. Because frankly, whatever your opinion is and whatever their opinion is, what I'm hearing is two groups of people that think it is very important that Trump not win. Folks, that's the whole game. That is all that matters. Because Biden is a neoliberal. That means he is center-right. We knew that in 2020. We know that now. And his replacement will be the same. There really isn't much of a difference in policy coming our way, except maybe that we've seen that Biden will, from time to time, respond to the will of the people. But let's not promise ourselves a rose garden here. It's still going to be a neoliberal. What matters is that this time, like last time, the election is all about Trump, as it should be. When you see people freaking out about this, remind them that they are freaking out because they want Trump gone. Good. The people they are freaking out about, generally speaking, also want Trump gone. Good. If we want our higher goal is ensuring that Trump does not get into the White House, we want that accomplished. Let's make sure we don't hurt feelings over this argument on strategy. Good news, it's out of our hands. Biden will decide. Because we had our opportunity in the primaries. Most folks have voted already. Biden won. That was expected. He was the incumbent. There was very little chance that anything else was going to happen. And now it's for Biden to decide. Biden did decide. He said he's staying. Okay. Hopefully he'll do better if there's another debate. In the meantime, I say we turn our attention back to where it belongs, on what a psychopath Trump is. In case you missed it with all this Biden talk, let's just stress again that Trump said Mexicans are taking black jobs. Or did he even say Mexicans, or did he just say illegals? I can't remember what crude and offensive terms he uses. But he I don't know what black jobs are, but he said they're being taken by immigrants. Trump was also, his name came up on Epstein documents. Then he was asked about Epstein documents, and he said, I don't think we should really look into that too much because, they publish a lot of lies. Should jump on that with both feet. Trump led a coup against democracy, against you. Focus fire there. Don't panic over panic. If you see people arguing about Biden, it's fine. Those are people who are passionate about beating Trump. And those are people that we want to see. That is good. Don't get too invested in who wins the argument, because remember, it doesn't really matter. As long as it's not Trump, we can work with it. I see my friend GNN is on, so let's see who's here. Well, Wicked Foxy Dragon. Hello. Don't know, but it was the worst in modern times. Now, Jake, what is also important, says Foxy, is to remember that it is the U.S. that the U.S. president has the least power in the government. It should not matter who the president really is unless it is a Republican. Yeah, I agree with that. Pretty much. I agree with that. I do think the president matters because they pick the Supreme Court, they have the executive orders, and ultimately they can veto bills. But Congress is supposed to be the top dog. It's supposed to be the most consequential body of government. That's why there's more than one of them. I think when we appreciate that more, we're going to suddenly, miraculously, see more left-leaning legislation get passed. The letter hack. What's up, Buzzcut? Hello, my friend. Jake, what about congressional, the letter hack says, Jake, what about the congressional caucuses meeting over the next couple of days? Could it make a difference? Yeah. They might pressure Biden to step down. Or they might ask him to step down and he might say no. Or they might meet and say, we don't really have a better plan, do we? Okay, we're going to just go away. Any of those things are fine. Truly. Because the congressional caucuses are getting off their butts in an attempt to defeat Donald Trump. Good. I just think that if you want to know what you can do to put it even clearer, just make sure every conversation you have about whether you should replace Biden or not is tinged with why it's important to win. Because that's really all that matters. Even if centrist Dems decide, oh, we got to do this play. This is the one we're making. Or progressives say, oh, we got to do this thing here. Okay, as long as the goal of either play is to defeat Trump. I don't think we're going to get in our way as much as we think we are. I actually think the worst part about this is if we look panicked. We can have a reasonable, chill conversation about replacing the candidate. But you should also know, just so you don't get your hopes up, if you really wanted to get rid of Biden, which I understand if you did, frankly, it will be Harris, almost certainly. That is the candidate instead, for a number of reasons we listed elsewhere. She's virtually the same as Biden in terms of where they fall on the scale, left to right. A little bit better, frankly, regarding Gaza. Even then, it's hypothetical. But more importantly, it's the masthead, the figurehead of the party. I don't think anybody is going to argue that this election is about anything other than defeating Trump. So however Democrats want to charge at this problem, sure. But it's about beating the most beatable guy on the planet. It's what do they call it? Stakes and risk versus stakes. I think he is beatable. I've seen alarming polls, I know. But I still think he's beatable. And I still think a moldy ham sandwich could beat him. Just pick our sandwich. It doesn't matter very much. It doesn't affect what legislation we'll have down the line. Alicia, hello. Letter hack, good point about the president's actual power, but I worry public perception is different, and if they're scared, they may not vote. That's my worry. Well, scared of what? I mean, if they're scared of what Biden would do, that's one thing. But the argument is what Trump would do, and people are rightly scared of what he would do. And by the way, the president's power is very different if they're willing to abuse it. Trump is. He's made that crystal clear. Also, it's frankly not even abuse anymore. Biden's just, and any Democrat, is just willingly choosing not to take up the crown offered by the Supreme Court. It's a kingship to the first Republican that gets into that office. They will not hesitate. So my point is, no, I don't think anybody's going to be scared of Biden. They might be scared that he has an old man moment when things are serious, but that is why Kamala Harris is there, to replace him if he can't do the job. And I see even his enemies are hesitant to talk about the content of his character, because it's good. He's got a good heart. He's often wrong about things, but he's got a good heart. Wicked Foxy Dragon says, what the general public perceives, yes, that is the biggest problem. Not scared, but feels like their vote won't change anything. Now that is an issue. That sincerely is an issue that we got to handle. And the way we handle it, I think best, is by pointing out that local elections matter, and local elections are frequently come down to a handful of votes. I have seen elections literally won by one vote. I remember a specific election that was won by 5 votes. That's a family in a minivan. 5 votes. Stress the importance of local elections, and also, if I'm realizing I should do this. It's not actually terribly hard to find out who's running. You go to a website which gives you a sample ballot, and you look at the names for various things, and then you literally Google them plus the thing they're running for, and you'll usually find usually it's like a Facebook page if it's a local politician, but you'll find somewhere posted what they're all about. And it's not terribly hard to get the gist of it. Do they have a all lives matter, anti-Antifa, so I guess bunch of stuff on their page? Well, don't vote for that person. So get people to vote because of the elections that definitely do matter in their area. And if you can, convince them that the people all around the country who are going to be voting on that night will collectively decide if we want to be able to vote again. If we want to stay a democracy or not. It is that important. It literally comes down to that. By the way, Trump did that thing where he says he says a thing as though it's a joke, and he lets people laugh, but he doesn't say it's a joke. And then later later people say, were you joking? And he says, yeah, mostly I was joking. The thing was, he said, in 4 years, you can do whatever you want. I don't care what you do then. We're going to have a plan. We're going to have a plan for that. That's what he said. 4 years, it doesn't matter if you vote. We're going to have a plan for that. It's the end of democracy if Trump wins. Even if they don't think their vote matters, and you can convince them that their vote does matter by focusing on local elections, but even if they don't think it does, they are going to have to tell Jesus what they did at some point. Whatever they believe comes after, they're going to know how they behaved on that election night. Where did they cast their lot? Did you do your part, or did you not? If we try to prevent Trump from getting into office and we fail, those of us who survive what comes after will be writing the history books, and we're going to be looking at the voter turnout. And the people who failed to vote, the people who failed to show up, will be the most hated Americans of this generation. Not even those who got conned by Trump, because it's well studied how they are being conned. There's a multi-billion-dollar network dedicated to shoving lies into their ears, putting them in front of their eyeballs. But the people who just did nothing, those are the people who will be despised, and rightly so. Don't be in that group. Tell them they do not want to be in that group. That's a loathsome group of people. The letter hack, scared, unmotivated, whatever. I'm worried they don't participate because mainstream media makes it out to be a done deal. Well, I think it's our job, we the people's job, to counteract mainstream media. You are their real life if you're talking to them in real life. Just tell the truth. It is important. They can make a difference. All they have to do is vote. And what they can do is bring some friends with them to vote. And it's that simple. That's the prescription for solving most of these problems. If they're watching mainstream media and feeling like their vote won't matter, or that nothing that they do will matter, they should stop watching that media, because that media isn't helping them. You can offer them fantastic programs. I'm just going to I'll name the top 3 I can think of off the top of my head. Obviously what you can do, and let's say Above It All and Environmental Coffee House. Stuff like that is what you can tell them. By the way, folks, if you're watching this later, we got Matt Strackbine from AKA The Letter Hack in the audience. I just watched his interview with Pondering Politics. It inspired tonight's conversation. It got me fired up. It got me excited. I truly love the interviews this fella does. Go check it out. That's The Letter Hack on YouTube. I was trying to think of a funny place to say that it also... Oh, yeah, let me pretend I didn't... yeah. That's The Letter Hack on YouTube and RedTube. I don't know why he chose those platforms, but that's where you can find him. The Letter Hack on YouTube and RedTube. Oh, and OnlyFans. Also Twitter. Wicked Foxy Dragon. Young people think it is as bad as it can get right now, according to focus groups asking young people about politics. But those are the people that aren't aware of of what their inaction could cause. But how many people are talking to them in real life? Yeah, good point. I would point out it might be as bad as it could have gotten right now, and it's not as bad as it will be if they don't participate. One thing we should be clear with about Gen Z and whoever the next folks are, they're the cavalry. Those of us who are here in chat rooms like this right now, talking about this stuff right now, we've been holding the line. And we knew that one day would come a generation who could vote and grew up with the school shootings and the temperature turning up every single year, and the mortgages getting more and more impossible to receive at all, or certainly ever pay off, and school debt becoming we knew that generation was coming. We need them to fix this. Our powers combined. If they turn out en masse, we're going to swamp these Republican scumbags. But they got to turn out. So tell them that. Alicia, only feet. Indeed. Only hacks. Yes. The letter hack. My secret is out. Wicked Foxy Dragon, how do we get them to listen? Well, first of all, it's very easy if they're like 17 now, going to turn 18 in the next couple of months. Because a lot of times, they don't have a choice. A lot of times they're your child or your nephew or what have you. And I say, use your one I'm related to you card to tell them the importance. But no, in all seriousness, if wherever it is you're hearing these folks talking about this stuff is usually a place where you can communicate to them, even if it's on YouTube and you're seeing a focus group and young folks in that focus group are saying blah 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 blah. Put in the YouTube chat, young folks, so you know whether or not we succeed as a country is dependent on you showing up to the polls. And you're right, most folks who are watching those comments won't see that. But your equivalent as a young person will. Tell them to spread the word. I will try to contact some young, hip kids that are content creators and see if I can get them to talk about it. Truth be told, even when I was one, that wasn't my crowd. So certainly not now. But yeah, why not? I'll talk to him. Alicia, minus 16, and I don't even have that poll. Well, certainly. You know where they sleep? They will wake up in the morning and you'd be like, I want to talk to you about volunteering for politics. You want these pancakes that I made? All right, well, we're going to talk about civic duty. Say, you can play unfair, because Lord knows the Republicans will. The letter hack. I was talking to 3 17-year-olds today. Oh, cool. I didn't know you hung out with Matt Gaetz. WSD, my young friends, early 20s, have been telling me that Biden will lose and they won't vote for him. Here's what I say to that. In a moment, I'm going to do my pitch for Joe Biden. And I encourage you to listen to that pitch because that is the thing that I think you can say to a person who does not want to vote for Joe Biden. Bear in mind, I am living in Dearborn, Michigan, surrounded by folks whose families Joe Biden has participated in the murder of. I don't give a fuck about Joe Biden. I give a fuck about my neighbors. And yet, when they ask, and occasionally they do, because a lot of them know what I do for a living, or whatever this is, if Trump wins for a die-in. But the point is, when they ask, I give them an honest pitch. But here's the important thing, because I think it is in their best interest that Biden get reelected. But here's the important thing. You don't need to sell them on Biden. You need to sell them on voting. They don't have to turn up to support Biden. But they do. They do need to be there to vote in the people who will vote Trump out of office if we get a Trump dictatorship. If we have a full House and a full Senate, we have more tools to protect ourselves than if we have neither of those things, than if Republicans are allowed to stay there. I will be furious and probably change some of my career goals, frankly, if we do not have overwhelming control of the House and Senate this November. So what I say to you, WSD, when you're talking to those 20-year-olds, you don't need to convince them to support Biden. I'm about to give you a pitch for how you can. That's not your goal. You need to ensure that they are going to vote regardless. You can tell them you don't have to vote for Biden. You can write in a candidate. Write in Bernie Sanders. But you damn well better vote for every other race there is. And if, by the way, you think that the only office that matters on the ballot in November is the presidency, and frankly, you don't know enough. You just don't know enough to make such a judgment, and I would recommend voting for Biden. But I understand. Genocide. It's too much. It's too much to ask of some people. And rightly so. It's impossible to forgive. What you can do once you know what he is guilty of, or what he's complicit in, what you can do is what I do, which is be cold about it, be realistic about what our options are, and plan on eventual revenge. When they try to give him a presidential library or whatever, that's when we have to act. That's when we say, no, we don't honor this man. No, this man is not a hero. And here is why. But as I say, most important thing is to make sure they are still voting, because if they're too left for Biden, we're probably going to love all the other candidates they support. Patrick Thibodeau, my man, hello. Good to see you. I am a subscriber and a member, but I don't seem to get alerts for these. Ooh, we'll tell you what. I will start posting the live in the members chat. How about that? Actually, that makes a lot of sense. I'm going to do that right now. Stand by. And also, Patrick Thibodeau, let's Joe. Heck yeah. Oh, I'm going to be this guy's cheerleader for the rest of the summer. The rest of the summer. And I'm about to give you what I think is a pretty healthy pitch for why everybody, including Republicans, should vote for Joe Biden. And then work with us to pass legislation. Hold on, I'm telling the members. Boom. But after that, we go back to being we go back to dueling, Biden and I. I'm back with Mayor Abdullah again. All right, I got something for you here. Why everyone should vote for Biden. This is why everyone should vote for Joe Biden in November. Pause right now. I know you. Right now. The progressives just hurled organic tomatoes at their monitors, at my mug on their monitors, and Republicans hurled what I assume is a rapidly cooling can of tobacco spit at their monitors. But nonetheless, chill out for a second. Because even though I love busting your balls, I think I've got a pretty good case here. And if you don't agree with it, let me tell you, I would love for you to tell me in the comments. I'm a teeny tiny little baby YouTube show. We could go on a live call together, and you can tell me why I'm dumb. I look forward to that. And I'll probably believe you because I am dumb. But I think I'm right about this, so hear me out. No matter how you feel about the guy's politics, he was just given infinite powers by the Supreme Court, or pretty damn close to it. What he was given specifically was immunity from prosecution or any real meaningful investigation into his activities, so long as he says what he was doing was an official act. That just happened, gang. We have never lived under such an institution. We've never lived with the presidency having so much power. If you're wondering what that would be like, think Nixon, but without all the investigations. Joe Biden is essentially a king right now. He's just choosing to act like an old school president. He came out after that ruling and he said, I will not use this power. That, to me, is the strongest possible case to keep Joe Biden in office. Joe Biden and no one else. Not because I like Joe Biden. Frankly, I don't. Republicans, I'm sorry. I don't like him for different reasons than you don't. I don't like him for the reasons that progressives don't like him. But we can both agree, progressives and conservatives, that we don't like him. And we can also both agree, I hope, that that's his refusal to take that power that he was given, that's a good reason to keep him there. And we should keep him there until we can get rid of that power. We can make an amendment to our Constitution. That's how you go above the Supreme Court. You make a constitutional amendment. I suppose there's other ways. Smarter people than me will have pathways to getting there. But the point is, our Constitution, being a living document, is something that we can amend. And put aside what you think Trump will do, what you think Marianne Williamson could have done. Sorry, I didn't mean to eye roll her. I'm just trying to come up with whatever. Put aside what you think anybody else maybe would do. We know what Joe Biden won't do right now. And presumably over the next 4 years, he won't take the power that the Supreme Court gave him. Power which the president should not have. We get a mulligan on this one, folks. Right-wingers, you should seriously consider what you've been supporting. You should really have a long think about which justices voted to make the president a king. But you should also know that voting against your party, voting for the other folks, it doesn't have to be the end of the world. Actually, it happens lots of times throughout your life. If you can stop watching only one news source, and think logically. Don't you don't have to love Biden. I won't be. Progressives who were going against Joe, I get it. I get it. But things have changed. Presidency is a kingship now, essentially. We got to undo this. We need an American Magna Carta. We need, I think, a new amendment to the Constitution that specifically says the president can and must be investigated for any illegal orders they give. Just that simple. Also undoing, by the way, the OLC's opinion that a president can't be investigated while they're in office. I think that should go too, but we can talk about that. We can discuss it. But right now, Republicans, if you're thinking, ooh, I wish we could investigate Joe Biden, well, you can if we pass this amendment. And by the way, if you pressure your folks, we pressure our folks, I think we can actually get bipartisan agreement that Joe Biden should not be our king. You don't want him to be. I don't want him to be. He doesn't want him to be. Wait, he doesn't want him to be. So vote for the guy, and then tell him, give us a new amendment. Use the bully pulpit. Gather the troops. We'll write the emails. U.S. Magna Carta. Give it some thought. What do you think, Wicked Community? Ooh. Lightning Rod, I never liked Joe Biden. I go in and out. Truth be told, last summer I liked him. You know, there were those glory days before October 7th, when he, in his own centrist way, which I did say was dishonest and I didn't like, but he got deals for those striking train employees. He got their demands met. I liked him for a little bit. Then October 7th happened, and a big part of my heart died. Because I saw us falling for the same thing we fell for in 2003. I saw a whole generation learned nothing. Just brown people bad. Pinkerbell, I've stopped expecting elections to be anything more than a shit show where we pick between bad and worse, like forever. I don't think that has to be so. I think they will be that way so long as America does this Olympics schedule for caring about politics. But truth be told, like, influencers whose channels are not about politics are chiming in with some rather astute political opinions these days. Sometimes some rather not astute political opinions, but even those ones tend to follow the talking points of somebody who watches a lot of news. It's just becoming culturally understood that politics are important. I cannot express to you how much ignorance I lived in well into adulthood, simply because it was possible. It's possible in America to stumble around having no idea how any of this worked. And then, frankly, it was just necessary for my job that I get a deep understanding of it, like the nuts and bolts, because I had to write about it. And so I had to know what I was talking about, so I had to yada, yada, yada. Not like that anymore. Not for good reasons. It's not like that anymore on account of the fact that people's rights are being taken away. Supreme Court undid Roe v. Wade. That affects everyone all over the country. People have no choice but to pay at least a little bit of attention, and that fundamentally changes how U.S. politics work. It will matter. The elections will matter. Primary elections will matter more. Your next opportunity to utterly shift the country will be in 2028. And we only get that if we lay the groundwork now. Here's the chain of events that needs to happen. We need to have a massive blue tidal wave this time around. And it's going to be a neoliberal one. And that's going to suck. But nonetheless, blue House, blue Senate, blue White House. When that happens, Republicans will be very weak. On a lot of fronts, donations, pop culture, the whole 9 yards, they'll be weakened. We need to follow up that wave with a progressive wave. So November 6th, day after the election, that's when the progressive charge starts. That's when we start making progressives out of centrists. That's when we start doing what I think is the fun work of popularizing progressive ideas. That's when we start doing the very fun, slightly shady work of effing with politicians, catching them slipping, embarrassing politicians who don't go with the team here in terms of what we want to get done. We want to embarrass the Joe Manchins and Kirsten Cinemas of the world, whatever. The Tulsi Gabbards. That's who we start effing with. It's gonna be a fun 4 years, but it's all gonna be to create a progressive movement out of a centrist, what is shaping up to be a centrist Democrat victory. A lot of people think that you get progressive movements out of the ashes of what's left of the Democratic Party after a conservative victory. But we've now seen multiple examples of how that is not so. The opposite happens. People tend to panic and vote as normie Democrat as they can. So what we have in front of us is an opportunity to truly make America great for the first time. Because America has never, ever, ever fulfilled its promise. It's always pretended like it was doing that, but it's never done that. Either we've had 20% of us in chains, or have been making efforts to give them as close to chains as we can, or we have the collapse of ethics under capitalism that's been hounding us since Reagan. We've just never been what we ought to be, but we have the opportunity to turn ourselves into that in a way that I haven't seen since Obama. Obama was a centrist with a progressive sounding message that followed a conservative nightmare. One thing that was absolutely similar about then to now is that even people that didn't really understand politics knew that Bush did a bad job. By the end of his presidency, they got it. They understood that the war was a disaster and that it was his fault and yada, yada, yada. And that, oh yeah, all the tax breaks for the rich weren't making anybody else wealthy. It wasn't winding up in our pockets. But we panicked and we went centrist. And I don't just mean that we voted centrist because Obama seemed like he might be progressive. He really winked at the notion, didn't he? And he did try. Hey, he tried freaking the Affordable Care Act. But he was the first black president. He didn't want to ruin it for everybody else, and also Americans were scared. So what did he do? He did the neoliberal thing. He was a super centrist. He was a friend to big business, and he compromised with the devils. So we got a reduced version of the Affordable Care Act, and we got the kind of lack of change that gave us Trump eventually. So now we have another opportunity. Even though we had Biden for the last 4 years, we've still been enduring 8 years of Trump. America is once again ready for better. And if we can get Biden in office this time, then we survive another 4 years. We even, hopefully, keep making, I stress, keep making the changes we've been making to America, which are actually needed. This includes green energy initiatives that we have been pursuing. Excellent. And then, in 28, we have progressive control. If we can take it, progressive control of the government, that is what we need. It's got to start with a caucus. We have a good start. We've got the squad. We need to expand the squad. This can be done by electing people into office, but bear in mind, it can also be done by changing people who are in office, who are in the party that hosts the progressives, into progressives. I've seen it with Whitmer. You can affect the way these people act. You just need to show them that we are paying attention and we are the future. Because both those things are true. And if they become aware of those facts, often it informs the way they behave. Doesn't matter what they are in their heart of hearts. It only matters what we can make them do. Wireless Mike, 150 Patriot Front members showed up here in Nashville and marched through downtown over the weekend. I'm so pissed I can't see straight. Several U-Haul trucks full, and MNPD didn't do jack shit. This is a sincere offer, my friend. If you hear about them coming to your area, let me know. I don't like them feeling comfortable showing their faces. I would like to make them uncomfortable. I've got a camera and a can-do attitude. And, you know, a Little League baseball bat. No, I'm kidding. I wouldn't use a weapon. But let me know. I'd like to F with them. Groove Dragon, a vote for Kodos is a vote for Trump. I don't know who Kodos is. Vote woke 2024, vote blue up and down. Yeah, I agree. Just vote for Biden. I don't like him, but I think it's the best plan. Tinkerbell, wow, that's awesome, Elaine. Paul and Douglas hit 4K subscribers last week. Yes, they had a 1K Father's Day weekend. That's insane. Oh, they had hit 1K Father's Day weekend. I see. My gosh, they are taking off. I gotta ask them what they did. I mean, those are two of the folks. If you're not aware, they are the True North Eager Beaver podcast. They are some of my favorite human beings on the planet. Go check them out if you haven't already, because they're fantastic. That is the True North Eager Beaver podcast. Groove Dragon, we are Antifa. You're goddamn right. We are, just like our grandparents were, Antifa. Wireless Mike, I would use a weapon. Is it even necessary? They're Nazis. They're made out of they're not exactly made out of the sternest stuff. You know, it just feels like putting on work gloves to pull daisies. Like, just yank it out. Bash the teeth in. Wicked Foxy Dragon. My son just ran. Oh my God, my son just ran streaking through the dining room. You know, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. Run around with your hams out. Groove Dragon, Simpsons reference. 2 aliens run for office. Humanity ends up in chains, and Homer says, "Don't blame me. I voted for Kodos." Oh, good point. Good point. Oh, God, that's right. Oh, that was good. Let me see here. I do want to remind you. I'm changing things up a little bit. We are at $55 total donated. If we get, every time this channel generates $100 in donations, so it's not just on a given stream, but every time we hit the $100 in donation marks, this instantly becomes, no, this means I will end the stream I'm currently doing with a showing of Wicked Diversity Squad, a game show that you have to bribe me to play. And that's where we try to appeal to members of various communities who are not currently on screen. And it's incredibly socially awkward. If you're wondering how it works, if you're wondering why is that a tense thing, if you're sitting at home, think of whatever, let's say, race you are, okay? Think of your race. Whatever you think your race is, whatever you consider it to be, try to appeal to that. Go ahead. Go ahead. Try to appeal to specifically your race. It's difficult, right? It's super hard. It's awkward, and it's way easier to offend than anything else. And that is the beauty of Diversity Squad. It's torture for the folks who are up there. If you'd like that, which I do, in a sort of the British Office kind of way, then donate money to the channel, because every time we hit $100, got 45 more to go today, every time we hit $100, we're going to do a new episode of Diversity Squad. Oh, no. Oh, wait. Yikes. Wireless Mike, they sprayed their effing name across the base of a bridge downtown. They are the third hate group to do a march here this year. Wireless Mike, here's what I recommend. Go to your next city council meeting. Talk about these people like they are what they are. They're a hate group. Look up. Oh, you know what? I'll do this work for you. You said, what was it? Patriot Front? This filth? Yeah. Patriot Front hate group. Yeah, Anti-Definition League has them listed as a hate group. So go to your next city council meeting. You just said they marched through town and the cops did nothing. What is their town doing? Inviting vigilantism? The cops did nothing? Go to your next city council meeting and bring this issue up. Take a photograph of the spray paint. Say, this is a hate group. There's no doubt about it. Here's the source, Anti-Defamation League. They're listed as a hate group. You don't believe me? Here's what the Patriot Front says about themselves on their website. They are a hate group. They marched through this town, vandalized it, and nothing was done. What are you going to do, city council? What are you going to do, local cops? What are you going to do? Because if the answer is nothing, I know who I'm going to dedicate my time to replacing. The people who appease the hateful bigots that just marched through my streets. The people who are siding with the enemy. That's who I'm going to replace. You might want to add that they will necessarily hang their heads in shame when their grandchildren ask them what they did during these days, what kind of people they were. Their behavior is a matter of public record. Public records that their grandchildren will be ashamed of. And rightly so. Go to your city council meeting. Make it their problem, in other words. You don't have to say all that. You can say some of that. You can say whatever. Print out the Anti-Defamation League's Patriot Front listing. Mention the fact that you don't like that they were just allowed to march through there. Now, they might say, hey, free speech. Fair enough. Not free speech to vandalize. Did the police not think these were a bunch of filthy criminals? They're a bunch of bigots. Why would you think there's any decency in them at all? Why weren't they watched? Make it their problem. Just make it their problem. That's the point of city council. And by the way, elections happen all the time. You can be a thorn in their side. You can point out that you will remember how they acted and respond accordingly next time around. You can be a local bigwig, by the way. There was a couple of folks in a town where I was a radio station DJ who simply made it their business to be involved in local politics, and they were basically kingmakers. And you'd think, oh, well, what massive corporation did they work for? No, it was just a hobby. They just put in the effort. You can do that. And it looks like you've got cause to. Let me know how that's going, by the way. If you want help, I will lend my organizational powers. Wicked Foxy Dragon, they will mute his mic, and then you can yell. Because they will meet in a room where your voice will be loud enough if you yell. You can yell and say, they will go out of their way to help bigots. And they will go out of their way to silence people who don't want their streets sullied by bigotry. This is who our city council is. This is who we've allowed to represent us. This is what the world thinks of us when they look at who we are. You have a right to be there. You have a right to speak. I say use it. Groove Dragon, fortunately, civil lawsuits have financially destroyed the KKK and the Proud Boys and other hate groups. Good. Pile them on. Elaine, you, via the police force, allowed them to march through our town. Hell yes. Wicked Foxy Dragon, did you see what they did to the Tennessee Three? I did, and I saw that because of the fight that the Tennessee Three had in them, that they became national figures. Gloria Johnson, Justin Jones, and I believe Justin Pearson. Those are 3 Tennessee legislators whose names I know because of the conflict they were involved in, because they were fighting for the right for children to go to school without being massacred. I know who they are, and I know what they're about, because they were willing to fight for it. We should be welcoming conflict. Good. These people are already the villains of our lives. Let us be theatrical. Show the world what kind of villains we live around. Groove Dragon, hell yes, we are in a fight for the soul of our nation and the survival of Earth. It sounds dramatic because it is dramatic, and it also happens to be true. No, he says of Earthlings, and that's perhaps more accurate, but I like the survival of Earth better. Earth as we know it. Gloria Johnson is running against Marsha Blackburn this year. Oh, hell yes, Gloria Johnson. Kick Blackburn's ass. Marsha Blackburn is a... she's very MAGA-y, if I understand correctly. I don't remember what senator she is from Tennessee. I think she is the senior senator. She's been there for a minute, but she is a vile human being. and deserves to be replaced. So hell yeah, Gloria Johnson. Let's all, in fact, contribute $1 to her campaign. Elaine, there are no laws against hate groups in the United States, asking because this Canadian doesn't know all U.S. laws. There's actually laws saying that you can walk around being a hate group, frankly. There are some obscenity laws, but I'm frankly of this belief. If a guy walks down my street in a KKK hood, the police will pull him off the street for his own protection from me and about 1,000 other people that live around me. And they will be right to. Because if they don't, most like, that hood will not be white for very long. Nor should it be. There is a certain amount of intolerance that I think is necessary for the intolerant. And that might damn me, a good chunk of my neighbors. In which case, when I get to hell, to find that guy who was wearing the KKK hood, and get right back to it. That's how there is a certain degree of practicality that police are allowed to consider. There's a reason you don't often see protests where the neo-Nazis just come out waving the swastika. And when you do see them, they are often surrounded by police, being protected by police. It's because arrangements literally have to be made to keep those people untouched, shall we say. The Proud Boys ought to have quite similar treatment, as should the Patriot Front. All of these hate groups, I will not look in my nephew's eyes in 10 years or whenever he gets to asking about this era and tell him that I stood quietly by while these miserable said that people like him weren't allowed to exist. Nah. Nope. There's what's lawful, and I'm all for limiting the government's power to that, and in fact, protecting the First Amendment. I will actually staunchly support the government's limiting the government's ability to say you can't have a Nazi flag or a flag that says F everybody but this guy, the guy that owns the flag. Then that doesn't dictate my private behavior, though. And I think that's necessary. That, folks, is called the Overton window. They did here, and the cops again did nothing. Marched with Nazi flags, and they let them do it. I need to genuinely consider how I'm going to handle that. Here's the deal, gang. There's no rule that I'm thinking of. There's no law that I'm thinking of. There's just chaotic good. But I'm of the belief that when you get in front of a microphone, you do have an obligation. There's private citizen, you do what you want as long as you accept the consequences. There's government, where you do not do what you want. You do what is within the ethics and the law and all of that. And it's very, very tight. Somewhere in between there's what you do in front of a microphone. If you're saying that there's Nazis walking down your street and they feel safe to do so, we just can't leave that alone. Because that means, any little Jewish kid on your street doesn't just see Nazis walking down the street. They see Nazis walking down the street and a whole community of people that don't care that those people want that Jewish kid dead. At the same time, it is a big enough problem that you and me are not going to fix it. Not at least with a bike lock and a can-do attitude, let's say. But we can't leave it alone either. Mike, I'm sorry, we can't. Let's muse about this, you and I. Got a town in Mississippi that just now is finally allowing elections again. After they had told the public that those, don't worry about it, we'll just appoint a mayor for you. We have things we need to deal with, but we must deal with them in a way others can replicate without going to prison. Especially since a wave of people going to prison right before an election would be disastrous for the party those people want to support. I'm willing to take options here. I'm willing to take suggestions. If you have suggestions for what we can do that is legal or at the very least reasonable, do let me know at whatyoucando at WYCDnetwork.com. That's what you can do at WYCDnetwork.com. Oh my God. Groove Dragon is referencing one of my favorite songs. Gloria, 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 Gloria. Yeah. Right, because Gloria Johnson. But to your point, we truly just can't have Nazis walking down the street. I think here's what I would say. If nothing else, when you see Nazis going down the street, you get a sign out of the closet that you have written down and ready to go for all these things, which says, you are bad people. If they have, you don't have to escalate anything, but you have an obligation to match. You know, they go marching down the street, you have to march out in that street saying, Nazis are bad. Anybody that likes Nazis are bad. These guys. Mike, you specifically, you do a lot. I happen to know what the stuff you do. I happen to know the stuff you follow. You are a big part of the reason that we're even aware of that insane Tennessee mayoral race. I'm not trying to harp on you. I'm just trying to establish for all of us what I feel our obligations are. And I'm saying this from a privileged place, an especially privileged place. I was in a deep rural area for a while, but nobody was gathering there. Now I'm in a very urban area, but the Nazis aren't coming here. I have the privilege of being able to shoot off about this or that, but then not having to go to sleep in that community. I think you're good in terms of your soul, anybody who lives in such a community. Simply having a sign that literally says, Nazis are bad. But I do want to make it clear, if you have ever beat up a Nazi, you drink free in my bar. Elaine, Nazis are not welcome here. That's the perfect sign. I mean, that's literally all you have to do. The goal is not even to scare the Nazis. Not even to have the Nazis have a bad afternoon. The goal is so that the little Jewish kid or the little black kid or the little Asian kid that's watching quietly from the windows sees that at least somebody else in the community thinks that they are a human being. That's all. Richard Hinckley. Oh, good. Live Jake again. Yeah. Yeah. Elaine, I might be mistaken, but I do believe that they are over here considered to be a terrorist group. Oh, yeah. I think we should have most of these groups, Proud Boys, etc. I think the Proud Boys are at this point, but Patriot Front, all those bastards should be terrorist groups. But in the U.S., I mean, I could say I'm a representative of Al Qaeda, and that's gonna get cut. I could say that, and that in and of itself is not illegal, nor should it be. Oh, good Lord. Pinkerbill. Guess they moved headquarters from Charlottesville? Maybe. Proud Boys are not considered to be a terrorist group? They may be. I have to look that. Well, I can look that up. Are the Proud Boys listed as a terrorist group? And just for the algorithm, yet. Well, New Zealand thinks they are. But apparently the U.S. Doesn't yet. Oh, wait. Nope. They should be. That's to our shame. My favorite answer thus far is from Elaine, saying the sign should say Nazis are not welcome here. I think that is just about the perfect answer. All you need is a sign, maybe a finger. But truly, if you're just like, I just want somebody else to stand out on the street corner with me and boo and call these people rude names and insult their mothers and generally gesture rudely at them, I will drive all the way to Tennessee. I would enjoy the drive. Have you seen my playlists? They're fantastic. I have hours and hours of music. I have a Chevy Impala that would be honored to cough out its last on such a trip. And Mike, you are one of the few who I will get off my big fat duff for. Wireless Mike, the Blood Tribe is the group who marched with swastika flags, dressed in all red and black. They sound truly horrific. If there is any consolation, it's that these idiots cannot exist for very long without getting themselves into rather serious trouble. I give you the Base, which was our little, Michigan's little group of Nazis, led by a remarkably young person for a while. Like, the person was, I think, 19, leading a bunch of 30-year-olds. Don't worry about their long and prosperous career in being a Nazi scumbag, though. They, like all these idiots, got arrested and are going to be spending, it would appear, the next 40 years in prison. They'll be right alongside the Wolverine Watchmen, little militia group who tried to kill the governor and also got caught because they are idiots. We win. Always. Because there are more of us and we are smarter. And just generally better people. And more dedicated. I think better looking. We will always win. It is a question of how much we bleed on the way there and who has to bleed. And if good people don't stand up quickly, then there's a lot of victims who bleed first before we eventually do stand up. You are a good person. You have stood up many a time. I offer to join you whenever you want it. I think the best way to handle these people's presence in your town is a nice sign that tells them that they are bad people and that you think they're bad people. I did have one other thing to talk about. Richard Hinckley, wait. The Nazis called themselves the Base? That's a literal translation of Al Qaeda. Yeah, and they knew that. They knew that. And it was a reference to Trumpism as well. Oh, apparently. Yeah. Yeah, okay. I'm going to show you guys a gentleman by the name of not Byron Donalds. Well, I guess I will. I'm going to show you guys a gentleman by the name of Reese Waters. While we were freaking out about Biden. Well, not really freaking out, but you get it. While we were fantasizing about theoretical better candidates, Byron Donalds, Donald Trump, a whole lot of folks for that matter, embarrassed themselves. Richard Hinckley, you've seen all right, cool. He is not, guys. If you're not watching Reese Waters, I'd check him out because he does good reporting. I just came across him this weekend, but I saw a bunch of his videos and I liked them all. Anyway, I'm going to record this, so I should probably do a different intro. Gang, well, everybody was busy talking about the weird, wild national news stories. Donald Trump, of course, did a bunch of embarrassing things, but that's always true. What isn't as common is is Trump supporters embarrassing themselves, but beautifully. Wait, 102,000 subscribers? Good Lord, Reese. But not to worry, because the Trump supporters have made hilarious content for us. Anyway, here it is. So, Byron Donalds, you might remember him from such things as trying to be McCarthy's replacement. He was in a cigar shop, and it was a black-owned cigar shop, and he tried to just sort of slip in MAGA stuff. This fella up here in the corner is reacting appropriately for what's happening. I'm going to let Reese Waters break it down for a moment. This is fun. Let's enjoy ourselves.
Wesley Hunt, for a year, spent a year living in Robert E. Lee Barracks. Every single day that I walked beneath that threshold, I looked up and saw that name and thought to myself, damn, this is a great country.
You don't forget about where you're from. Don't paint us a picture. Don't tell us that we can't educate our kids on the opportunity. We're talking about vouchers. You're talking about things that's still going to cost more money.
Let them fight. Let them fight. No, let them get it out their system.
Oh, troubled waters. That's a good. I like that. Okay, so does anybody else think those guys sounded exactly like the like Key and Peele? I can't remember the name. I guess it's the Black Conservatives sketch from Key and Peele. I don't remember what it was actually called, but where they all dressed exactly the same. Anyway, that's what those guys sounded like.
They keep trying it. You remember what happened last time.
During Jim Crow, the black family was together. That's right. During Jim Crow, more black people were not just conservative, because black people always have been conservative-minded, but more black people voted conservatively.
How dare you make such an ignorant observation? You better check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Somehow, after all that, Byron Donalds tried it again. What? If at first you don't succeed, they say try again. But these days in 2024, you try again, you get arrested for stalking. So these are not the days that we grew up with Byron Donalds.
I don't really get what he's going for there, but I do want to say, and I like Reese Waters. I had fun watching this video, but I want to get, and by the way, links in the description. Oh, good Lord, that face in the background's hilarious. I want to get to the part where they yell at him, because this is just, frankly, how I feel all Americans should behave when one of these MAGA types rolls in talking their nonsense. If you're a white person, by the way, you have a secret ability, which I recommend you use, and I call it stealth mode. Imagine yourself like a lion, kitty cat with big eyes, hunkering down, getting ready to pounce. In that crowd, waiting for these people to say the kind of nonsense you know they're going to say. When they say it, boo them. And other people will boo you and yell at you. Take it. That's what being an ally is. Eat it. So they have to eat it. Hope somebody passes you the mic. If you find out you're at an event where they're taking questions, then don't boo. Just try to get the mic. And ask them devastating questions. Like, how does trickle-down economics work? How do you respond to the fact that in 40 years of study, it has been shown consistently to never work? Ask them devastating questions. Ask them, hey, weren't you endorsed by David Duke, the leader of the KKK? Do you denounce, just whatever the person in front of you is saying, whoever the person in front of you is, tear them to shreds. But let's follow the example of this here crowd.
By former ESPN host Sage Steele. And if anything says we're going to bring all the boys to the yard, it is former ESPN host Sage Steele. So that's who you brought in to bring black men into the GOP? Huh? That'd be like saying, you know what, for the black ladies, we got Jesse Lee Peterson. Hey! The only people that Sage Steele was bringing to the yard is white folks who want to touch black people's hair. Now, thankfully, unlike the black church, the cigar lounge was actually filled with a predominantly black audience, which means they got that smoke.
There was a vote about the representative, the local representative, that brought up an amendment to the defense bill to reinstate a Confederate monument that has a depiction of a mammy receiving a white baby from a Confederate soldier. Of the 4 people that voted to have that reinstalled, 3 of them, 2 of them on the stage, 3 of them were our black Republicans, right? Of the 4 black Republicans, 3 of them voted to yay on that. That vote almost passed. Something like 206 to 192. I don't understand, from descendants of black slaves, why you think that isn't a principle.
Do you hear that? He's got the you don't have to be as good as this guy, for the record. He's got like the vote numbers down, the tallies. That's wonderful. If you are as good as this guy, you should pat yourself on the back. I bet you a lot of folks in this audience could be as good as this guy. My point is, you don't have to be. You just have to challenge them. This is delightful. Keep tearing them up, audience member.
Position. So I think when we talk about to black men, it seems deceptive to come in here and talk about issues and then vote what seemingly isn't based on principle.
Just think about it. A mammy receiving a white baby, something that most black people would have a visceral reaction to, yet in this case, we can't even trust black people who have risen to legislature status to vote against something like that. We can't even trust them to act in our interests about something wildly racist. That is where we're at.
Robert E. Lee, the Confederate general that fought against the rights of people that looked like me. Wesley Hunt, for a year, spent a year living in Robert E. Lee barracks.
He's trying to justify why he is siding with with open races. And so he's now doing a pitch to a black audience. Why it was a good thing that there was a place named after Robert E. Lee. Good Lord.
Every single day that I walked beneath that threshold, I looked up and saw that name and thought to myself, damn, this is a great country. Because only in America.
I got it. Let me finish that. Only in America could you get away with wearing those boots in front of a black audience. I need to know what's going on with the kids today, because I couldn't have got away with those in middle school. Now, grown folks have got rid of it.
For a year.
Oh, God. I didn't even notice them before. I listened to this the first time he was talking, and I just assumed they were like Italian boots, which I'm a big fan of with a suit. Cowboy boots with a suit, what's the matter with you? That's showing that you don't understand cowboy boots and you don't understand suits. You don't understand two garments. It's embarrassing.
Year living in Robert E. Lee Barracks.
I have to say, Byron Donalds does look sharp, except for the tie flop. Except for the tie. Byron Donalds looks sharp.
Every single day that I walked beneath that threshold, I looked up and saw that name and thought to myself,
You can see him getting
this
nervous.
is a great country. Because only in America do you have 3 black children matriculate through the premier leadership institution of the entire world and graduate from there and live in a barracks named after a Confederate general. Only in America. And if it were named anything differently, I wouldn't have that perspective.
So let me get this straight. You want to keep it because of the perspective you gain having to think about Robert E. Lee. So you want future generations to have to go through those same mental gymnastics seeing Robert E. Lee. Now here's a question. How do you think we got to the point where you could go to the barracks and be inundated with that? How do we get to the point of celebration that you had
Struggle
in your head as a black man to be able to see the statue and know that you had achieved something? You think we got to that point just by being like, hey, at least it's not as bad as it used to be? You think that was it? Huh? You don't think prior generations actually continued to push the bar forward, but you just...
Wow.
and so on. Let me get to the yelling. It's here.
So
Do you think I support the Confederacy?
Yes.
Don't kid yourself. Of course I don't.
Well,
Excuse me? Wow. Of course I don't. See, this is what happened to you last time. This is what happened to you last time.
that's when you know he in trouble. That's when you know he in trouble, when he start bringing, hey, this what happened to you, Byron. Why don't you come on and help me?
Wow. Of course I don't.
Byron Donalds looks terrified, and he is right to be. Just clutching out of that chair for dear life.
This is what happened to you last time. I'm trying to have a nuanced conversation.
See, this is what you call fake smart. What is nuanced about what you just said? There's nothing nuanced about what you just said. You just said you wouldn't have had the revelation and appreciation and gratitude for how far we've come if it were not for the Robert E. Lee statue. However,
All right, let's listen.
you were only able to have that feeling of gratitude because of the work of black folks who paved the way for you, which you are refusing to do for future generations because you're comfortable. It's
True. Let me jump out of here for a second. Guys, that's Reese Waters. I very much recommend checking him out. I didn't realize he had 109,000 subscribers, but give him 10 more. You know, he's good. Here's the deal. I think the way that audience in that cigar shop reacted to those "See You Next Tuesdays" should be emulated. I think just about everywhere, the Marjorie Taylor Greens or the Matt Gaetzes or the Lauren Boeberts or the Mike Lees of the world go, this is the reaction they should receive. I think I understand why we defaulted to polite and quiet and not causing a scene in the past. No longer. These people are loathsome, and our neighbors, our future generations Every decent person on earth deserves our support in calling them out, calling them names, doing everything we can to make their continued existence with their set of politics that they carry around uncomfortable, untenable. These people belong in prison cells for what they would do to their fellow humans. Unfortunately, it's not plausible, especially since not everything they do is illegal. Plenty of what they do is illegal. But at the very least, not everything they do is illegal, and so it falls upon us. It falls upon us simply not let them feel socially accepted. Don't let them puff their cigar and drink their whiskey and sit on that nice leather chair and feel like they're having a lovely time. Instead, grill them. Yell at them. Make them feel uncomfortable, because they ought to not be comfortable, because their beliefs are that everybody but them can go themselves and die. That's their beliefs. Wireless mic. LOL those boots. Well, Donald James X. Tell you what, I will end this stream into Galactic News Network. We'll pour everybody else in there. I think that's a lovely idea. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I saw something by Foxy. Logan Hill, oh man, missed that this was happening. We'll check it out from the beginning. Sounds like it's been a good time. It is. I only vaguely ranted and raved. Gang, we got a couple of interesting shows coming up, including Left Past 10 with a special. It's not a secret. A special guest. So check that out Wednesday at our new time at 9 p.m. and we'll probably return to 10 at some point. Tuesday, I may or may not do a stream, depending on if I have interesting things to say. But in the meantime, I'd like to play you out with my good friend, Donald James X, and we will be ending this stream by popping over to Galactic News Network. So I hope I hope you all enjoy. Oh, this has been What Can You Do? This has been WYCD Wicked. That stands for What You Can Do. My name is Jake.